In the previous episode, we've seen a couple of things we could do by stacking up 2 or more oscillators. Even though layering is a very important concept in sound design, there is so much you can do with 2 oscillators to create your own sound. So today we are going to see that and talk about sound synthesis. There are a lot of types of sound synthesis, so let's start right away with the first one. Additive synthesis is creating sound by adding harmonics in the sound. That can be achieved by stacking oscillators on top of each other, just like we did in the last video. But most of the time we will use sine waves to do that, so we can add harmonics one by one. Each harmonic you add will change the waveform, because the waveform is dependent of the harmonic content and vice versa. So changing one will change the other. You can do additive synthesis in Ableton's operator, for example. Here in this area, every vertical bar represents a harmonic of the harmonic series, and the height represents their volume. If you don't know what the harmonic series is, it might be a good time to watch my old episode about harmonics and overtones that I will link in the description. Everything is explained there. So if you have only the first harmonic, the fundamental, you will have a sine wave. Then if you add a harmonic every 2, you would have more of a square waveform. And if you add every harmonic, you would begin to have more of a sawtooth waveform. What's interesting in additive synthesis is that you can control the volume of each harmonic independently, so you could shape the sound with more flexibility. You can also do additive synthesis in Serum by clicking this pencil icon in the oscillator section, and in this window you will have the same display with all these bars, with a visual representation of the waveform you are creating. Subtractive synthesis is starting with a sound that is rich in harmonics and then removing some of them using filters. There are a lot of different filters to choose from, and we'll see what they can do in a dedicated video. But for now, you can remember that subtractive synthesis is gradually removing harmonics using those filters. To give you an example regardless, a low-pass filter will cut the high frequencies of a sound, so it can make it less harsh or more muffled. And a high-pass filter will cut the low frequencies of a sound, which can be useful to leave some space for other layers in your sound, for example. So subtractive synthesis works particularly well when you start with a sound with a lot of harmonics. To give you an example of subtractive synthesis in its purest form, you can start with white noise, which contains all the frequencies, and then use filters or an EQ to let through only the frequencies you want. In a wavetable synth like Serum or Ableton's wavetables, the oscillator is called a table, and it actually contains several waveforms. You would then have a knob to cycle through all of them and morph your sound. This can be a good way to add motion to your sound to make it more organic. Varying the waveform in conjunction with the opening of a filter or the drive of a distortion can really make your sound come alive. This is interesting because you could have any waveform morphing to any waveform, so the possibilities are endless. Some of these synths like Serum even allows you to draw your own waveforms, or you can import an audio sample and it will extract the waveforms from it. For example, if I take this sound and I import it in Serum, it would give me all these waveforms that I can use in my oscillator. Among these waveforms you can do a selection, you can erase some of them, you can keep just some of them, and if you have just a few different waveforms loaded here, you can actually interpolate waveforms between them so you can move smoothly between them. To do that, it's in the morph section. Let's try morph spectral, for example. See, the first one is in index number 1 and the second one is in index 256, which means that there are actually 255 waveforms to transition from the one to the other. AM stands for amplitude modulation, and the amplitude of the signal is basically the volume of the sound. Amplitude modulation means that the volume is modulated. The volume changes following another signal. So for AM synthesis, you will actually need two oscillators. One is the sound source that provides the sound you can hear. It is called the carrier. And the other is the one controlling the volume knob of the first. That is called the modulator. So for example, we have an oscillator with a sine waveform, that is our bass sound, the carrier. And then we have an LFO, which stands for low frequency oscillator, that will provide also a sine wave, but very slow. If we make this LFO control the volume knob of our first oscillator, it becomes the modulator. At this rate, you can hear the sound go louder than quieter, along with the LFO's oscillations. For now, it's no big deal, but if the LFO then goes faster and faster, it starts distorting the sound. When the modulator oscillates fast enough, it begins to distort the shape of the waveform itself, and it begins to add harmonic content to the original signal. It will add several harmonics for each harmonics already present in the original sound. So if I add another sine wave in the carrier, so we begin with two harmonics, you can see a series of harmonics being added for both. Changing the amplitude or volume of the modulator changes the overall volume of the added harmonics. From there, you can experiment with different waveforms for the carrier and for the modulator. It's worth noting that you can replace this LFO for a simple oscillator as well. An oscillator and a LFO are basically the same thing, only the LFO oscillates way slower. One last thing about AM synthesis. Have you heard about ring modulators? These are devices that can make a sound more metallic, that sounds a bit like a bell. The name ring modulation comes from the fact that early analog devices that made ring modulation used 4 diodes linked together in the shape of a ring. Well, ring modulation is essentially the same thing that amplitude modulation. The only difference is that with ring modulation, only the added harmonics remains and the original frequency of the carrier disappears. Whereas with amplitude modulation, both added harmonics and the original frequencies of the carrier remain. Apart from that, they work in the same way. FM stands for frequency modulation, and frequency is basically the pitch of your oscillator. So FM synthesis is similar to AM synthesis in the way that they both involve a carrier and a modulator, but here with FM, the modulator will control the pitch of the carrier. In the same example than before, I will link the LFO to the frequency of the oscillator. You can hear the pitch going up and down along with the LFO, and in the same way, when the oscillator rate of the LFO goes up, it starts distorting the sound of the carrier, but it adds a lot more harmonics, creating potentially a much richer sound. One of the differences with AM synthesis is that here with FM, when you move the amplitude or volume of the modulator, it also affects the harmonic content that is added to the sound. Not only the overall volume, but also the distribution of the harmonics. this is the core principle of FM synthesis. It can go a lot deeper. For example, we can add a third oscillator before this modulator one, so its frequency goes up and down. Here is how it sounds at a slow rate. So if I crank up the frequency of this oscillator, we can get yet another sound. From there you can add other oscillators and connect them in many different ways. I'm showing you this because FM synthesis was popularized by the DX7. It was a synth that used oscillators that you could connect in many different ways. And this architecture was so popular and versatile that it's been copied in many synths, like in the Volca FM for example, or the software Dex, which you can download for free. You can do many different sounds with FM synthesis. It's really a rabbit hole that goes a very long way. So here are a couple of examples from Dex library. I will also add Waveshaping synthesis, which generally starts with a simple waveform such as a sine wave, a triangular wave, or a sawtooth wave that is then distorted by a waveshaper. The waveshaper will basically change the shape of the incoming waveform based on a function, and there are a lot of things you can do with it. It is a type of distortion, so we'll see that more in detail in the episode about distortion and saturation, but just to name drop what you can do with it, you can do some saturation, asymmetric saturation, wave folding, or phase inversion for example. Hard sync is not really considered as a type of synthesis. I don't think anybody talks about hard sync synthesis, but it creates a very particular sound, so I wanted to include it here as well. It is close to AM and FM synthesis in the sense that it requires two oscillators, one controlling a parameter of the other. And what happens is that every time one oscillator finishes a wave cycle, it resets the cycle of the other oscillator. That creates a break in the waveform and it creates a distinctive distortion. Having one oscillator resetting the phase of the other means several things. One, the two oscillators will have the same base frequency, because the master oscillator will force the slave oscillator's period to reset at the master's frequency. So if you change the master oscillator's frequency, it will change the pitch, and if you change the slave oscillator's frequency, it will change the timbre. Two, you will hear the effect better if the two oscillators are detuned or play two different notes, because if they are perfectly in tune and they play the same note, then their phases would be perfectly in sync and it won't cause any break in the waveform, it would be seamless. And three, the waveform of the master oscillator doesn't really matter because it is only its frequency that will determine when to reset the period of the slave oscillator. Usually, the frequency of the master oscillator is the frequencies of the notes you play on the keyboard, and the frequency of the slave oscillator is either tuned from these notes or it can be set to a constant frequency. This really depends on how your synth is built and the options you have on it. Last thing to keep in mind with hard sync is if the slave oscillator is tuned to a lower frequency than the master oscillator, it will be forced to repeat before it completes an entire cycle. And if it is tuned to a higher frequency, the slave oscillator's waveform will be re-triggered after one or a few complete cycles. And this can give the impression that two notes are playing at the same time. So if you sweep the tuning of the slave oscillator, you will actually hear kind of a harmonic series. Granular synthesis doesn't use an oscillator as a sound source. Instead, it uses an audio sample. Well, it could still be a sample of a sound made with an oscillator, but still, it uses an audio sample and slices it into a lot of tiny audio bits, generally between 1 millisecond and 50 milliseconds each. These tiny snippets of sound are called grains. These grains can be layered on top of each other, played at different speed, different length, different volume, etc. This kind of synthesis is handy to create mellow textures, often referred as clouds. But it can do much more. There is a free Max for Live plugin that allows you to do granular synthesis in Ableton. It's called Granulator 2. Here you can place your sample. Let's take this one for example. And there you can define the size of the grains, where they are reading from, move the playing heads while you play, change the pitch of the grains, randomize these parameters, and more. Check out this plugin, it's free and very fun to play with. Granular Synthesis is also used by some built-in functions in Ableton, like the time stretch. The time stretch works in a very similar way in other DAWs, but I don't know them as much as I know Ableton, so I will use this one for the example. So time stretch allows you, for example, to make a sound longer without changing its pitch.
Go.
To do so, Ableton will cut your sound in several grains and then repeat some of them to make the sound longer.
Whoa.
You can then change the size of this grain in the warp mode section of your sample. By default, it's on beat. In this mode, Ableton will make a new grain with every transient it finds. It's good for small stretches or if you want to make your sound shorter, but for bigger stretches, you might want to try other modes.
Go.
First, still in beat mode, you can set the grain size to a subdivision of your tempo, which is really nice to make a rhythmic texture in sync with your tempo.
Go.
Or you can make the grain shorter by clicking on this little arrow to make sure each grain is read only once, and by reducing this value. It is very nice to make a loop sound snappier, for example. You can also use the texture mode that allows you to set the size of the grain to tinier bits. Or the complex and complex pro functions, which are supposed to be of best fidelity to the original sound. But with more extreme stretches, it introduces some metallic tones that can be very nice. Also, very last tip for this video, to create your own waveform, you can also load a sample in a sampler and select a very tiny part of it and play it in loop. Because this part is played in loop very quickly, it will just serve as a new waveform. I used to do that a lot to design bass sounds, starting with a kick drum sample. And these are the 8 audio syntheses that I wanted to share with you today: Additive, Subtractive, AM, FM, Wavetable, Waveshaper, Harmonics, and Granular Synthesis. That was a quick overview of how they work, but we'll see them again in this series. Most of these types of audio syntheses add a lot of harmonic contents. They do very rich sounds, so it's often a good idea to combine them with filters to tame them a little. So next time we'll see the Subtractive Synthesis a bit more in detail, and we'll see the different EQs and filter types you can use to shape those sounds. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.